Shalom Ubracha, peace and blessings. What a joy to be with you all today. We're in the middle of a series looking at some of the women of the Bible, their lives, what they did, the historical moment. We're going to talk about somebody that we don't know her name. She's called as the Shunammite, the lady from Shunem. It's in 2 Kings chapter 4. It's a very interesting time in Israel because it's the time of Elijah the prophet. When did Elijah live? Who is Elijah? You know about King David and then King Solomon. And after King Solomon died, some of you may know, there was a revolution in the country. The country got divided in two nations. The 10 northern tribes are called Israel. In the south is Judah, the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom. That happened after Solomon. There was a revolution. It was not a nice thing. Imagine all the nation that conquered all together, now they're split in two. The people in the north, the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, they have a big problem, that Jerusalem is in the south and the temple was in the south. So people have to go south to Jerusalem in order to worship, in order to give their tithes, their offerings. So there's two kingdoms after Solomon died, northern kingdom, southern kingdom, but there's only one temple and one Jerusalem, and it's in the south. What do the people in the north do? Well, they build two golden calves. They put two golden calves in the northern kingdom, and it says people from Israel. Israel is a name for the northern kingdom. Go to the golden calf that will be closer to you. And this began a very bad time because the north is going to be full of idolatry. What is the two golden calves was the beginning of the end, the beginning of something very sad. What is the Lord going to do? The Lord was going to raise up mighty prophets in the northern kingdom. Mighty prophets in order to clean the northern kingdom. The first one is called Elijah. Elijah, we don't know much where he came from. We don't know much about him. But suddenly he shows up and he starts doing tremendous acts of power, bringing fire from heaven, judgment. What is the point of Elijah? What is the ministry of Elijah? It's only one: to clean the northern kingdom. To clean the northern kingdom from idolatry. And Elijah is so powerful, but he cannot clean the northern kingdom. Idolatry is still there. Elijah is never in the south. He's never in Jerusalem. He's never in Judah. Elijah is always in the north. And after Elijah comes Elisha. In Hebrew, the names are different. In English, they're almost the same. But Elisha, in the north. Who is Elisha? Elisha is going to continue with the ministry of Elijah in the northern kingdom. From Dan, from the very north, to Bethel. They don't go south into Jerusalem. And Elisha will do twice as much miracles as Elijah. But they won't be able to clean the north. They just can't clean the north of idolatry. The men of the north are idol worshippers. They fall Baals. There's going to be a queen in the north. Ahab will marry Jezebel, and Jezebel is going to be really satanic. In the middle of all of this, in the northern kingdom, in the middle of all of this, the Bible tells us about one woman, the Shunammite. Shunem is a place in the north. Shunem is in the north, and the Bible talked to us about this lady in Shunem, an amazing lady. I don't know why we don't have the name. It's a lady from Shunem. It's very interesting. She's a wealthy lady. It's 2 Kings chapter 4. She's a wealthy lady, and the story starts that wherever Elisha is in Shunem, is in the area, she insists that he would stay in her home and invite him for lunch. And after a while, after several times apparently that Elisha will stay, she wants one thing. She wants to have the man of God in her home. And after a while, after several times, she talks to her husband. Wealthy family. The northern kingdom was the largest kingdom. There was a lot of wealth actually in the north. And she talks to her husband and she says to her husband, honey, why don't we build a small apartment in the top of the house, in the roof, in the upper floor? Why don't we build a small apartment and put there a lamp, a bed, and a table, and a chair? And that will be for Elijah, so whenever he passes by, he can stay there. This is an amazing woman. This is a woman that is wealthy, but she doesn't want sport cars. She doesn't want better clothes. She doesn't want social relationships. No, she only wants one thing. She wants the presence of God in her home. It's an amazing woman in the time when the northern kingdom, the northern part of Israel, in the time when the north is full of idolatry. We have a queen like Jezebel, which worships all kind of false idols. In those days, we have a woman like this who wants only one thing. Wealthy woman, but she only wants one thing, the presence of God in her home. She wants the prophet of God, the man of God, to stay in her home. Absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful heart. And so her husband agrees, and they build this little apartment for Elijah. It's really nice. She says, let's make a small apartment. Look at the words in English or in Hebrew, it's the same. Small apartment with just a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp. And you begin to think, why not curtains from Persia? Why not carpets from Asia? Well, she instinctively knows she's not stingy at all. She instinctively knows, I think, that for the man of God, simplicity is a must. It's a plus. For the man of God, simplicity. Simplicity means simple things, but a time for him, a place for him to spend with the Lord. Simplicity. We don't need really, when we know the Lord, when God becomes our Savior, we don't need so many things. Before we know the Lord, we probably need the last of the last model of everything. The last car, the last fashion, the last telephone, the last television. Now, once we know the Lord, things change. Not because we are imposed to live like missionaries. It's not that. In the simplicity, it seems to me, like in simplicity, it's easier to find the Lord. When I became a believer years ago, we had a big house, and I asked my parents those days if they mind if I move to the maid room. We have a room for the maid. We didn't have any maid anymore. And he says, why do you want to go there? There's nothing there. There's just a bed and a table and a lamp. That's exactly what I want. I want nothing else. I just want a place to spend time with the Lord. Very few things, very little. And early in the morning I will make myself, I have a bean bag. And I will make myself early in the morning a coffee, and on the bean bag, on that little cushion, I will sit and see God's face. I think that's what's going on here. But the story continues. It's a marvelous story. Remember, it's the time of idolatry in the north. And this woman, she's surprising us. She wants the man of God. She builds this little apartment. And now Elijah came to Shunem, and he would stay there. It will be Elisha's apartment. And one day Elisha had a servant, Gehazi. One day the text says Elijah and Gehazi were staying in the apartment. And Elijah calls Gehazi and he says, his servant. And he says, Gehazi, bring the Shunammite, call the lady. And he says, Elisha says to the lady, would you like us to introduce you to the king or the general of the army? And she says, no, 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 no. I am a happy woman who lives among her people. I don't want any of that. She says, I don't want, I didn't, the reason why I build you this room for you is not because I want social connections. I don't want cocktails. I don't want social connections. I don't want to be in the magazines. I don't want any of that. I just want the presence of God. I just want a place for the men of God. That means the presence of God in those days. That's what it meant, really. And so Elijah is talking to Gehazi, and Elisha says to Gehazi, what can we do for her? Look what she built this place for us. It's just for us. She went through all this trouble. What can we do? And Gehazi said to Elisha, she has no kids, no children, no sons or daughters. And her husband is an old man. And Elijah says to Gehazi, call her back. And she comes back. It's a beautiful story. She comes back, and Elisha didn't ask her anything. Elijah said to her, next year, this time, you will be nursing a child in your arms. And the lady said, the Shunammite said, don't make fun of me, man of God. That's exactly what she said. Don't make fun of me. Don't raise up my hopes, men of God. I mean, what happened, I think, is this. It's beautiful. In the church, we see a lot of women that maybe they never became mothers and they would have loved to become mothers, but God is my portion, they say. I'm satisfied in the Lord. I don't need anything else. God is my portion. But they would have loved to have a kid. She didn't ask for a baby, for a son, a daughter. Elijah just told her, next year, this time, you will become a mother. And she said, don't make fun of me. Don't raise up my hopes. But the story goes, I mean, she was satisfied with the Lord. But obviously we can see, like many women, that she would have loved to become a mother. And the text says, next year, at that time, she bore a baby. She had a baby, a son. And it says, the text continues, and it says, and the son was a little boy, and he grew up. One day, beautiful story. It's really engaging. When you read it, it's easy reading, and it's really nice. It says, one day, the boy was a little boy now. He was in the field. He went to the field with his father and the reapers. It's Shunem is a place in the country. They have agricultural production. They work in the fields, and the boy is with the father in the field. And in one moment, the boy said here, my head, my head. And the father says, take him with his mother. The boy lies on his mother's lap until noon, and at noon he died. He had a brain problem, some kind of problem, and he died. He died right there. And now is the beginning of the real story. The lady, the Shunammite, take the dead boy. I mean, the boy just died. He took the boy, the son, and put it upstairs on Elisha's bed. And he goes to see her husband in the field. And she says to her husband, saddle me a donkey. She says, why? Where are you going? I need to go and see the man of God, Elisha. And her husband says, is everything okay? I mean, today is not a new moon. It's not a feast. There's nothing important. It's not a special day today. It's no holiday. Is everything okay? And she said, everything is fine. She gets on a donkey and goes to what today is Haifa, Mount Carmel, where she knows Elisha used to live. She died to her husband. There was a dead boy upstairs. Yes, that's true. But she couldn't tell her husband what she was about to do. She now is about to fight for the life of her son, of her baby, of her boy. She's now going to fight for the life of her son. She couldn't tell her husband, she didn't lie to her husband, she couldn't tell him that the boy was dead. Her husband would have probably said, there is a dead boy, our son just died, bring the doctor, call the rabbis, bring the funerary, whatever, bring doctors, there is a dead boy. He would have said probably something like that, and he would have stopped her. But she knows instinctively, this is the beauty of the whole story, she knows she has the right to fight for the boy's life. And the way to do it, she puts the boy upstairs in the bed, the dead, deceased boy, really, and she goes to see her husband. Saddle me a donkey. Husband says, is everything all right? Everything is fine. Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom. And she goes in the donkey to Mount Carmel. When she's arriving to the Mount Carmel, she's beginning to fight for this. But you will see what happened is absolutely beautiful. The story, this woman, and the story of Israel. She's arriving to Mount Carmel on a donkey. And Elijah and Gehazi look at her. And Elijah says to Gehazi, look, there's the Shunammite. She's coming on a donkey. She's riding up the mountain. Mount Carmel is a high mountain in Israel. Haifa, the city of Haifa, is built there. And Elisha said to Gehazi, there is a Shunammite. Why is she coming? Gehazi said, Elijah says, I have no idea. It's not Gehazi's faith. It's not Elijah's faith. It's the woman's faith. She is fighting. She's fighting for a resurrection. It's an absolutely beautiful story. And Elijah says to Gehazi, I have no idea why she's coming. Go and see what she needs. Gehazi comes down and Gehazi says basically to her, can I help you, Shunammite lady? Is there anything you need? And she basically said, move away. I don't need anything from you. I'm coming to see Elijah. The only thing that I need is for you to move away. I'm on my way. Don't interrupt me. Don't delay me. And she comes to Elijah up in the mountain. She moves Gehazi. She's a dynamite, this lady. She moved Gehazi and she comes to Elijah and she falls at Elijah's feet. And she said, did I ask for a son, man of God? Did I ask for this? Did I not say to you, don't play with my feelings? Elijah grabbed her and she says, what's going on? And he says, I didn't ask for a son. It would have been better never to play with a son than to play with a little kid and then have to get his funeral. It would have been better never to have him. And she says she knows she has the right to reclaim, to fight. It's not the fight of her husband. He doesn't even know anything about it. It's not the fight of Elijah. It's not the fight of Gehazi. It's her own fight. And she realized, she knows she has the right to fight for this. Listen, if God gave you a marriage, if God gave you a business, if God gave you a home, if God gave you a son, and now he's taking it away, you know you have the right to fight for it. You know you have the right to fight for it. Now you can say like Job, God gave, God took away, blessed be the name of the Lord, and you will never receive anything. Many of us said that in life. God gave, God took away, blessed be the name of the Lord. But in the story of Job, God gave, but God didn't take away. It was Satan the one who took away. And instinctively, she knows she has the right to fight for this. Years ago, I was a new believer and I started teaching English in some companies. And then I entered in IBM and I opened my own school of languages. And one day, long story short, but one day they called me from security from IBM and they told me, you cannot teach here anymore. The competition complained and they were making me follow the law of training must be done off campus. And I said, Lord, did I ask for a school of language? I didn't ask for a school of language. You gave it to me. You gave it to me, and now you're going to take it away. I knew I had the right to fight for it. I knew I had the right to wrestle for it. It was God's given. It was God's gift for me. And I knew I have the right to fight for it. Well, this woman here, the Shunammite, is she's fighting for a resurrection. Let me fix myself a little. She's fighting for a resurrection. Gehazi has no idea. Elijah has no idea. And Elijah gets on a donkey and goes to Shunem, to this lady's home. And Elijah gets to her home by himself and goes upstairs. I think Elijah went fast. Elijah felt responsible. And the Shunammite is following, and she arrives. Elijah goes upstairs. Immediately he goes upstairs, and he's upstairs, and the dead boy is on the bed. And Elijah falls on top of him, lies on top of him. The text says, nose with nose, face with face, mouth with mouth, hands with hands. And it says that the body of the boy became a little warmer. And then Elijah starts walking back and forth on this small upper room, on this small room. I don't think Elijah knows what to do. I think Elijah basically is saying, Lord, all what I am, all who I am, all my ministry, all my communion with you, all my intimacy with you, all my person, I put on top of this boy. Look what we are doing to this lady. Lord, I don't understand. And he's walking up, back and forth in that little room. Elijah doesn't know what to do. It's the faith of the lady. It's not the faith of Elijah. And a second time, he falls on top of the baby, face with face, hands with hands. And it says that the baby is beginning to sniff. And he coughed 7 times. And he called the Shunammite, and he says to the Shunammite, here is your son. And she says, now I know. She said, this is the end of the story. She said, now I know that you are a true man of God. The story is beautiful. The story is extremely beautiful because it happened in days, in time, when the north had queens like Jezebel. Jezebel was satanic. She worshipped all the false gods of the Canaanites. Jezebel was the queen of the north. Shunem is in the north. Jezebel was the queen of Galilee. And in Galilee they were full of demons of all kinds, practices of the Canaanites. And in that area, in that Shunem, in that area of the northern kingdom, very close to Galilee, to find in that place a lady like this is absolutely beautiful. Let me tell you the teaching of the story. I already went a little into it. She knows instinctively, she knows she has the right to fight for the resurrection. She could have said, God gave, God took away, blessed be the name of the Lord. Most of the Christians that I know, when something like this happened, they would say, well, God, thank you so much for letting me enjoy this boy's life for a number of years. That's not what she said. Most of the Christians are too fast, too ready to do a funeral and to bury the boy. That's not what she did. She knows she didn't ask for a son. God gave it to her. And God is not going to play with our feelings. God didn't give me this boy to take it away. So she realized she had the right to reclaim, to complain, to fight for a resurrection. Most of us don't do that. And we never see a resurrection. Do you need to see a resurrection of your marriage? You have to fight for it. Did I ask for a marriage? Do you need to see a resurrection of your business? Do you need to see a resurrection of your ministry? If you just think that God gave and God took away, like Job thought, God didn't take away. Satan was the one who took away. Job didn't understand that he had the right to fight for this. This is one of the few resurrections in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament and in those days. She got a resurrection because she fought for it. Listen, God called me, and 30 years ago, and I started, immediately somebody invited me to teach English. And then somebody called me to work in a school that was working with corporations in Argentina, with banks and some foreign companies. And I did well. It was a nice business. I didn't know how to teach very well, but I realized one thing. God says, do not touch your life. I put you there as a teacher. I am going to teach you how to teach languages. I never did it. I didn't know how to do it. In the beginning, I felt really bad doing it. The years passed and I took some courses, and then I began to teach with some videos, with movies. I began to like it. And then I opened my own school of languages. This was in the mid-80s. It was called Executive English. I told one of my students who was a drawer that I am about to open my own school of languages, Executive English, and this guy gave me a logo. He prepared for me, I was surprised. He was my student and he prepared for me a logo with two letters E intertwined, and it was Executive English. And I have all the paperwork done, and I took the numbers of tax deductions and all of that needed to start a business. Why did I do that? I didn't want to have a school of languages. I was continuous where the Lord placed me. I never asked for a school of languages. Executive English was born because it was what the Lord was doing with my life. And as I told you, one moment I entered in IBM, and I had a big business with IBM. I was beginning to make money. And one morning they called me from personal department, called me in IBM. The security brought me to a small room, and they say, sir, you cannot teach here anymore. There is a law of personal department. Training must be done off campus. And my whole business fell apart. And I went behind the building of IBM, is the River Plate and the coast of Uruguay. And I went there and I said to the Lord, Lord, did I ask for a school of language? Long story short, because my time is over today. Long story short, I received an office across the street from IBM, and I finished with that business. I went on with that business for 3 more years, and I closed it when I went to Israel to study my master in Middle Eastern Studies, and then I went to New York. Fight for a resurrection. That is the Shunammite. 2 Kings chapter 4. God bless you. We continue next time.
Smile.